For 4 long years, a phantom haunted two of India's biggest cities. This was a killer with no face, no name, and no clear motive. All he left behind was a trail of bodies and one single, terrifying signature. This is the story of a ghost who was all too real.
So, how many people are we talking about here? His reign of terror claimed at least 26 lives. That's 26 men and women whose only crime was simply being vulnerable. And he didn't just stay in one place. His hunting grounds were the huge, sprawling streets of two of India's biggest cities, first Bombay and then Calcutta.
But the most chilling fact in all of this isn't the body count. It's this. After all of that, after years of fear and 2 massive police investigations, the killer was never caught. The case is still open to this very day.
Okay, so let's dive into this. To understand how someone could get away with so much for so long, we have to start with his method, which was as brutal as it was consistent. You see, the attacks were really defined by what they lacked. There were never any sounds of a fight. No one ever really saw anything. And there were no clues left behind. Just the silence of the night, followed by a horrifying discovery the next morning.
His signature was terrifyingly simple. He always went after the most vulnerable people he could find. Homeless individuals, sleeping all alone. He always operated under the cover of darkness, in these poorly lit areas. And the weapon? It was always the same. A massive stone, sometimes weighing up to 30 kilograms, used for a single fatal blow.
Now let's get into the timeline, because this is where the nightmare really unfolds. We see it jump from one side of the country to the other with this terrifying ease. So it all starts pretty quietly in Bombay, back in 1985. And get this, it actually took an astonishing 6 murders before police even realized they were dealing with a serial killer. Then, in 1988, after as many as 13 victims, he just stops. For over a year, complete silence. Until June 1989, when the exact same kind of murder pops up hundreds of miles away in Calcutta. 12 more people were killed, and then he just vanished, this time for good. What's really fascinating here is how the killer seemed to evolve. I mean, in Bombay, he was a shadow, right? He was cautious, operating on the fringes of the city. But when he showed up in Calcutta, he was brazen. He was striking right in the administrative heart of the city. At one point, he killed a victim just a single block away from police headquarters. It felt less like a murder and more like a taunt.
Now, with a body count of 26, you'd think there'd be a mountain of clues, right? But the investigators were basically chasing a ghost. They were left with almost nothing to go on.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates the investigators' frustration. I mean, can you imagine? Not a single fingerprint found on any of the stones. The few witness descriptions they got were vague, contradictory. Most of the victims were undocumented, which made them impossible to even identify. There was one man who survived an attack, but even he couldn't see his assailant in the dark. The police were working in a total forensic vacuum. But in that void, they found one strange piece of evidence. Near one of the murder scenes in Calcutta, they found a set of footprints. Forensic analysis told them 2 things. The killer was of average build, not some giant, and he had an unusually long, big toe on his right foot. That was it. That was their only physical clue. So, with no arrest and almost 0 evidence, who was this ghost? Well, all we're left with are theories. One of the strongest theories is that he worked for the railways, and this one makes a lot of sense, right? It would explain his mobility between Bombay and Calcutta, and it would also give him this intimate knowledge of both cities, the streets, the schedules, the best deserted areas. Another really compelling idea is that he was a construction worker or some kind of laborer. This explains 2 key things. 1, the physical strength you'd need to lift a 30-kilo stone, and 2, and this is crucial, his access to these stones. They aren't exactly just lying around on city sidewalks. And then there's the most unsettling theory of them all, that he had inside knowledge of police operations. His ability to strike and just disappear, even when the police were actively hunting for him. I mean, it suggests he might have known exactly where the patrols would and would not be at any given time. And finally, there's the simplest and maybe the most unsatisfying possibility, that he was never caught because he just stopped. Maybe he died or got thrown in prison for some other crime, or who knows, he could still be alive today. An old man who got away with it all. But, maybe asking who he was is the wrong question. The more important and honestly more disturbing question is how he did it. And the answer, well, it has less to do with him and a lot more to do with us. Just think about that for a second. The killer's greatest weapon wasn't the stone he carried. It was the fact that his victims were homeless, undocumented, people living on the absolute margins of society. They had already been rendered invisible long before he ever showed up. And this, right here, is the real horror story. The killer was able to operate because his victims just didn't register to the rest of the city. That's why it took 6 murders before anyone even noticed a pattern. Societal apathy wasn't just a backdrop to these crimes, it was the accomplice that allowed a ghost to kill 26 people in plain sight. The Stoneman case might be cold, but the conditions that allowed him to thrive, they absolutely still exist. And it leaves us with this really haunting question. Who are the invisible people in our own communities today? And are we doing enough to finally see them?